15 animals that use death as a survival strategy. Some freeze for seconds, others remain motionless for hours. Some manufacture the smell of decay. One has a neurological off switch that its predators have learned to exploit. Across the animal kingdom, acting dead has proven to be one of the most effective and most varied defenses in nature. Animal number 15. The ladybug. Ladybugs are small, dome-shaped beetles, most no larger than a fingernail, recognized for their red or orange shells and black spots. Gardeners value them for controlling aphids and other plant pests. Their defense system is more sophisticated than their appearance suggests. When threatened, a ladybug pulls all 6 legs tight against its body and drops. It falls from whatever surface it was resting on and lands completely still. At the same time, yellow-orange droplets begin seeping from its leg joints. The fluid smells strongly, a combination of bell peppers and decay, and is mildly toxic. The combined effect, no movement, a foul odor, and a bitter taste, is enough to deter most predators. Birds, ants, and other insects that might otherwise feed on ladybugs generally move on. This defensive bleed can cost the insect up to 13% of its body weight, roughly equivalent to a human losing 20 pounds of blood in a single event. For the ladybug, the cost is reliable enough to be worth repeating. Animal number 14. The red flower beetle. The red flower beetle is approximately the size of a grain of rice. It has become a standard subject in death-feigning research because its behavior is consistent and easy to observe under controlled conditions. When startled, typically by vibrations through a surface, the beetle freezes instantly. Its legs press flat against its body. Its antennae fold inward. Every visible muscle locks. Internally, its heart rate doubles, though nothing on the outside moves. The beetle's primary predator is the jumping spider, which relies on movement to detect prey. In laboratory experiments pairing the two species, beetles that remained motionless for longer periods survived at nearly 4 times the rate of those that moved quickly. When multiple beetles were present, spiders attacked those that moved, while the stationary ones went untouched. A dynamic researchers have labeled the selfish prey effect. Through selective breeding, scientists produce beetle populations that differ significantly in how long they feign death. Animal number 13. The fire ant. Fire ants are reddish-brown insects native to South America, now established across the southern United States and other warm regions. A single colony can contain hundreds of thousands of workers. They are known for coordinated, aggressive responses to threats. When colonies clash, workers attack each other directly. Researchers studying these encounters found that day-old worker ants, those newly emerged from pupation, respond differently. Rather than fighting or retreating, they go completely limp. Their legs and antennae fold inward. They become unresponsive to contact. Older workers, a week or more in age, either flee or engage. The difference comes down to physical development. Day-old ants have not yet developed hardened exoskeletons, which means they cannot sting effectively or withstand the grip of an adult ant. Playing dead is, at that stage, their only viable option. Attacking ants focus on opponents that resist. A motionless ant draws no further attention. In observations, day-old ants that feigned death survived at 4 times the rate of older ants that fought back. As they mature and their shells harden, they shift strategies. But the death display keeps them alive long enough to reach that point. Animal number 12. The black widow spider. Black widow spiders are identified by their glossy black bodies and the red hourglass marking on their abdomen. Their venom is reported to be up to 15 times more potent than a rattlesnake's. Despite this, black widows are consistently reluctant to bite. Researchers tested their threat responses using gelatin probes designed to simulate contact at varying levels of force. A single light poke produced only movement away from the stimulus. Repeated contact prompted about half the spiders to flick silk at the probe and curl into tight, motionless balls. Only when physically pinched, simulating entrapment, did most spiders bite. Even then, roughly 40% maintained the curled death pose without biting at all. For an ambush predator that waits in a fixed web for prey to arrive, direct confrontation carries real risk. A bite requires proximity to a potential threat. Curling into a ball maintains distance and removes the spider from the interaction without escalating it. A motionless spider also stops triggering predator response behaviors that depend on movement detection. Black widows can maintain this curled, motionless state for up to an hour. The spider remains fully conscious throughout, alert, waiting for the threat to pass before returning to normal activity. Animal number 11, the antlion larva. Antlion larvae, called doodlebugs in parts of North America for the spiral marks they leave in sandy soil, are the immature stage of an insect that resembles a dragonfly in its adult form. As larvae, they are predators. They dig cone-shaped pits in loose sand and wait at the bottom for ants and small insects to fall in, using large, sickle-shaped jaws to seize them. When a bird or other large predator captures an antlion larva, the insect cannot outrun or outfight it. Its response is to go rigid and remain completely motionless. It drops onto its back and stays there without any movement, even when touched or repositioned. Antlion larvae can maintain this state for up to 61 minutes. When a bird drops its prey, which happens regularly when carrying small animals, a motionless larva lying among sand and debris becomes effectively invisible. With no movement to track, the bird typically abandons the search and leaves. Researchers studying the behavior found that the duration of death feigning in antlion larvae follows no predictable pattern. The length of each episode varies without apparent correlation to any measured variable. That unpredictability is adaptive. A predator that could reliably anticipate when the larva would move again might simply wait. Without a pattern to learn, waiting becomes an inefficient strategy. Animal number 10, the mallard duck. Mallard ducks are among the most widely distributed waterfowl in the world, found across North America, Europe, and Asia. Males are recognized by their iridescent green heads and white collar bands. Females are brown and speckled. When a fox attacks a mallard, the duck's response is not always flight or struggle. In one study, more than half of the observed ducks went completely limp, bodies collapsed, eyes open with a fixed stare, or closed entirely, offering no resistance. They remained in this state even while being carried in the fox's mouth. The duck is conscious throughout. Foxes, like many carnivores, respond to movement. A still animal generates less immediate interest. More importantly, foxes often cache prey, bringing animals back to their den to eat later. Younger, less experienced foxes are particularly prone to setting prey down momentarily while attending to other tasks. That brief window is the duck's opportunity. In one documented case, a mallard maintained a fixed, open-eyed death pose while a fox buried it in shallow ground to retrieve later. When the fox was distracted, the duck broke the position and flew away. It had remained motionless for up to 14 minutes. Animal number 9, the chicken. Domestic chickens descend from wild jungle fowl in Southeast Asia and have lived alongside humans for thousands of years. Domestication has not eliminated the survival instincts of their wild ancestors. A state of immobility can be induced in chickens through a technique first described in 1646. When a chicken's head is held gently against the ground and a straight line is drawn outward from its beak, the bird locks its attention on that line and becomes completely still. Its body goes limp, breathing slows. The state can persist for 30 minutes or more. Despite the outward appearance of calm, physiological measurements show the opposite. Heart rate rises, body temperature increases. The chicken is not relaxed. It is in a state of acute stress. In wild birds, this response has a functional basis. When a predator captures prey, struggle often accelerates injury. A bird that goes limp may cause the predator to loosen its grip or look away, creating an opening for escape. The line-drawing method appears to trigger the same response by combining physical restraint with a fixed visual stimulus. The longest recorded episode lasted 3 hours and 47 minutes. The behavior has been referenced in the writings of the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche and demonstrated on camera by the filmmaker Werner Herzog. Animal number 8, the Livingstone cichlid. Livingstone cichlid is a fish native to Lake Malawi in East Africa, one of the most biologically diverse freshwater lakes on the planet. It grows to approximately 10 inches in length. Its coloration, mottled brown and black with irregular blotchy patches, closely resembles a fish in an advanced state of decay. The resemblance is not incidental. The cichlid uses it to hunt. The fish moves to an open, sandy area of the lake bottom, sinks down, and lies on its side without movement. Smaller scavenger fish, attracted to what appears to be a dead animal, swim over to feed. As they approach the apparent carcass, the cichlid snaps back to life and swallows them. The strategy is a form of aggressive mimicry, using deception to draw in prey rather than to avoid predators. It exploits the instinct of scavengers to seek out dead animals as a reliable food source. By replicating the appearance of a rotting fish, the cichlid turns that instinct against them. Adult livingstone cichlids use this method. Juveniles do not, likely because they are small enough to be prey themselves. An emotionless juvenile on the lake bottom would not attract scavengers so much as threaten its own survival. Animal number 7. Sharks. Sharks have existed as apex predators for more than 400 million years, longer than dinosaurs. Species including the great white, tiger shark, and lemon shark dominate marine food chains. They also have a physiological vulnerability that can be triggered from the outside. When a shark is turned upside down, it enters a state of complete muscle relaxation within seconds. Breathing becomes slow and rhythmic. The animal is unable to move and remains in this condition until righted. Researchers have used this response for decades to handle sharks safely during fieldwork, for tagging, tissue sampling, and relocation, without chemical sedation. The trigger varies by species. Some require full inversion, while others enter the state when gentle pressure is applied near the snout or tail fin. The origin of the response remains a subject of debate. One hypothesis connects it to mating behavior, as male sharks sometimes flip females during reproduction. What is clear is that for sharks, tonic immobility is a vulnerability rather than a defense. In 1997, researchers observing off the California coast witnessed an orca kill a great white shark by ramming it, flipping it upside down, and holding it in that position for 15 minutes. The shark was paralyzed by its own biology and suffocated. Orcas in other regions have applied the same method to stingrays, rolling inverted while gripping the animal, inducing the same immobilizing response. Animal number 6. The leaf litter frog. The leaf litter frog lives in the subtropical rainforests of southern Brazil, moving through fallen leaves on the forest floor. It reaches approximately 1 inch in length. Its brown coloration blends with the leaf litter around it. When threatened, the frog does not attempt to flee. Instead, it rolls onto its back, spreads its limbs outward, closes its eyes, and holds completely still. Its body stiffens. It remains unresponsive even when touched. The frog produces no toxins and cannot change color. Its defenses are limited to camouflage and stillness. Among the dead leaves, a motionless frog is nearly indistinguishable from decaying plant matter, reducing the chance that a predator will recognize it as prey. The behavior was formally documented by researchers in 2015. In observations, frogs maintained the death pose for approximately 2 minutes before slowly returning to an upright position. Animal number 5. The Vietnamese mossy frog. The Vietnamese mossy frog is found in mountain forests across Vietnam and neighboring regions, typically near streams, flooded caves, and water-filled tree cavities. Its skin is covered in bumps, spines, and mottled green and brown pigmentation that closely replicates the texture and color of moss on stone or bark. When stationary, the frog is effectively invisible against its natural background. When a predator moves close enough that camouflage alone is insufficient, the frog draws all 4 limbs inward, tucks its head, and becomes completely motionless. In this posture, it no longer resembles a frog. It resembles a small, irregular piece of moss-covered rock or bark. The defensive sequence combines 2 strategies. The first is camouflage, making the animal difficult to detect in the first place. The second, when camouflage has failed, is to eliminate the visual features that identify it as an animal. The compact, rounded shape may also make the frog physically harder to swallow for tree-dwelling snakes, which are among its primary predators. Animal number 4. The fire-bellied toad. Fire-bellied toads are small amphibians, approximately 2 inches in length, found in ponds and marshy areas across Europe and Asia. Their dorsal surface is dull green or brown, consistent with the muddy environments they inhabit. Their ventral surface, the belly, is vividly colored in red, orange, or yellow, marked with black spots. The coloration is a functional warning. Fire-bellied toads produce a milky toxin from their skin that causes irritation to the mouths and eyes of predators. The bright underside signals that toxicity. When threatened, the toad performs what researchers call the Unken reflex. It arches its back and lifts its limbs to expose the edges of its colored belly, then holds that position without movement. The posture is not primarily about appearing dead. It is about displaying the warning colors as clearly as possible. A stationary toad with its belly partially visible is easier to read than one in motion. Predators that sample a fire-bellied toad and experience the toxin associate the response with those colors and avoid them in future encounters. Bright reds, oranges, and yellows combined with black function as a broadly recognized warning across predator species. The death-feigning posture makes that warning legible. Animal number 3, the dice snake. The dice snake takes its name from the checkered pattern on its belly, which resembles the dots on dice. It inhabits rivers, lakes, and wetlands across southern Europe, the Middle East, and Central Asia. It is non-venomous and poses no threat to humans. When seized by a predator, the snake goes limp, opens its mouth, and lets its tongue hang motionless, a standard death display. What follows is less common. The snake coats itself with a combination of musk and feces, producing a strong, foul odor. In some cases, blood appears at the mouth, not from injury, but from blood vessels that rupture under extreme physiological stress. When the snake's blood pressure spikes sharply during intense fear, small vessels in the oral cavity break, producing real blood. Snakes that used all 3 defenses spent less time in the death pose, approximately 2 seconds, before moving and escaping. The multisensory display was sufficient to create the opening they needed. This research was published in 2024. Animal number 2, the hognose snake. The hognose snake is a thick-bodied North American species identified by its distinctly upturned snout. It is non-venomous. Its diet consists primarily of toads. Its threat response proceeds in stages. When a predator approaches, the snake flattens the skin around its neck into a hood resembling a cobra's and strikes repeatedly, always with its mouth closed. It is a display with no physical consequence. If that posture does not deter the threat, the snake begins writhing, throwing its body into coils, convulsing and twisting as though in distress. It then rolls onto its back, opens its mouth, lets its tongue fall to the side, releases musk mixed with waste, and in some cases vomits recently eaten food. It holds that position, completely still. If repositioned onto its belly, the snake rolls back onto its back. It maintains the inverted death pose regardless of how it is handled, because from the snake's apparent behavioral logic, a dead snake lies belly up. The sequence gives a predator multiple reasons to disengage. The initial cobra-like display may produce retreat. If not, the apparent sudden death, combined with the smell and the preceding convulsions, which may suggest disease or poisoning, provides additional deterrence. Even hatchlings that have never encountered predators perform this same sequence in full, confirming that it is entirely instinctive. One researcher observed 2 hognose snakes executing the death display while mating. The female eventually abandoned the pose and moved off, dragging the still motionless male behind her. Animal number 1, the Virginia opossum. The Virginia opossum is the only marsupial native to North America. It is roughly the size of a domestic cat with a pointed snout, rounded black ears, coarse gray fur, and a hairless tail. It carries 50 teeth, more than any other land mammal on the continent. Fossil evidence places the opossum's lineage across tens of millions of years. When cornered with no available escape, the opossum enters a physiological state it cannot initiate or end voluntarily. Its body drops onto its side, its feet clench, its muscles lock, its mouth falls open, teeth exposed, its tongue protrudes and takes on a bluish color, its eyes remain open but unfocused, saliva pools around its mouth, it loses control of its bladder and bowels, glands near the base of its tail release a green, viscous fluid with a strong smell of decomposition. Measurements taken during this state show heart rate dropping by nearly half and breathing slowing by approximately 1/3. Body temperature also decreases. The brain, however, remains fully active. Brainwave studies confirm the opossum is conscious and aware throughout the episode. The display addresses the primary instincts that guide predator behavior. Coyotes, foxes, bobcats, and dogs are triggered by movement. A stationary animal generates less response. More critically, the smell of advanced decomposition is a reliable deterrent. Rotting meat can carry pathogens and toxins that sicken or kill a predator, and most carnivores have evolved to avoid it. The death episode lasts anywhere from 40 minutes to over 4 hours. The opossum cannot end it on command. The state is a profound shock response, and the body requires time to recover before normal function returns. The phrase playing possum implies deliberate deception, but the behavior is involuntary. The opossum does not choose this response. It is triggered automatically by overwhelming fear. An opossum confronted by a moving vehicle, a threat it cannot escape and cannot categorize, may collapse on the road in its death state. Which animals do you think belong on this list? Leave your suggestions in the comments. If you found this useful, like the video and subscribe.